Have you ever racked up a credit card balance without really paying attention? Telling yourself, I'll deal with it later. Maybe it started as a small purchase, nothing crazy, and then another small purchase, and then another one, and then maybe a bigger one. And over time, the balance is growing. And one day you check your statement and it's way bigger than you initially expected. The interest piled on, there's late fees, there's hidden charges, and suddenly the reality hits. I can't afford this. That's exactly what porn addiction is like. It feels harmless at first, just a small escape, just a quick dopamine hit, a little instant gratification. But over time, those purchases, those add up and the debt builds. And it's not just financial debt we're really talking about here. It's the debt of lies, the debt of shame, the debt of broken relationships, the debt of lost time, and the debt of self-betrayal. And like any debt, it doesn't just go away. It comes due at some point in time where it has to be paid. And when that day comes, you either need to face it head on, or it's going to crush you and pull you down. So before we dive into my story and diving a little bit more into this concept here of recognizing the problem, recognizing the debt that we're accruing with porn addiction, just want to take a moment to refocus on our journey here with Porn Free Millennial. Recently, we've been doing some amazing interviews with some experts, some pastors, some really good people, including my brother as well. And it's really cool seeing, I would say, the different paths that are being taken, the different perceptions on this destructive habit. And I hope you find these interviews or you've found these interviews inspiring and enlightening. However, I do recognize there's a need to return to the practical advice and the foundational steps of porn recovery because that's incredibly important. And today we're going to go back to the basics, starting with the most crucial step, recognizing that this is a problem. Because without acknowledging the debt that we've accumulated, we can't begin to clear off that debt. So let's get into it. So for me, using this analogy of debt, I would say that the bill really showed up 20 years, really, it was like a 20-year spending spree, so to speak. I would say from really the age of 10 or so to my late 20s, early 30s. And, growing up, I knew that porn was problematic, but I didn't necessarily know and really think about how much debt I was really accruing at that time. I definitely had guilt, but I think I just told myself the same lies that so many others do. It's not hurting anybody. It's harmless. If anything, it's just hurting me, and it's something that I can deal with at some point in time. Really, I can stop anytime I really want to. It's just a bad habit. But in reality, I think just over the years, the decades, there was a massive debt that was building, and I didn't really realize it. And finally, I think when the debt caught up to me, I really wasn't mature enough, I wasn't disciplined enough, and I really wasn't prepared enough to handle it. And I've talked about this a lot, and I will continue to do so because I think it's important for the audience, for you all to take away if you're in a relationship, if you're in a marriage, if you're dating to marry, regardless, or if you're single and you do want to get married at some point. Porn played a giant role in my divorce. I'd say my relationship with it and that debt that I brought into my marriage, uh, it really led to a lot of secrecy, emotional distance, and broken trust in my marriage. And I think when everything fell apart, it left me in financial hardship. There were some times I was really depressed, very depressed. I'd say leading up to the divorce and then after it, definitely some really tough times. And I don't forget those times. Those times are important to remember, but they also were very painful moments in my life. And again, leading up to and post divorce. And I'd say just another thing too, when everything fell apart in that relationship, there was just a lot of uncertainty. I think that's a part of that depression was just lack of purpose, uncertainty where the future was heading for me. It kind of felt like in a way that there was just this weight on my shoulders and just something just hanging over me, and it was hard to shake. And really, why I share this is I don't want to see that happen with you. That's a big part of why I podcast, why I write about this. I hope that this can be a canary in the coal mine moment, a light bulb for you. If you're struggling with this, just to know that it could happen where if you keep going down this road and you don't address this problem and realize this is a problem, it can cause some massive devastation in your life. If you're married, if you have kids, luckily my ex and I didn't have kids, but we were married for 5 years. We owned a home together. So that is like a financial, I think, aspect of it because obviously with the divorce, there was finances involved. And I definitely was in a different spot than I was when I was married, and it felt like I could afford things pretty easily and be saving. That changed when I went through my divorce, and that was a hard period. But why I share that is, it's not just financial debt, but it's also emotional, physical. I think I gained about close to 30 pounds post divorce. And a lot of that I think did come from just feeling pretty sad, not exercising enough, drinking alcohol, eating good food that's tasty, but not good for you food while I was traveling across the country. Definitely in the South, I think I picked up the most pounds. But there was a lot of things I think that came on as a result of the divorce, but also were just a part, I think, in tune with my addiction to porn. Because even though there's times of sobriety or where I was working through that, I would still shift those coping mechanisms to something else, maybe like eating too much, or like when I was really depressed, just staying in bed, not getting up, sleeping in, that kind of thing. So, with that being said, that was just a little personal anecdote there. But that's really why I wanted to get back into some of this practical stuff. I love the interviews. It's really cool meeting some of these people for sure, and I want to keep doing that. But I also want to pull in more of a weekly focus on just these foundations of really recovery and rebuilding your new identity. So I think recognizing a problem is a great place to start. Like we got to recognize that this is not serving us. If you never recognize the debt that's building, you're never going to be able to take the action to really pay it off and have new habits so you don't get back into that debt. So, with that being said, I think the porn debt doesn't just hit one area, right? It infiltrates, I think, every aspect of your life. And today, as you're listening to this, this is going to be a little bit active. I want you to take some honest inventory of your life and what you're going through right now. And where has porn left you? What debt has have you accrued through this relationship with porn? And I've focused it on some of my podcasts and writing, but there's four activities in recovery that I think are huge. They're foundations, they're pillars, I think, of having strong recovery, building a new identity for yourself where you can live porn free. You're out of porn prison. So we've got number one, you've got your spirituality, so your spiritual health. Number two, you've got your physical health, your fitness. Three, you've got your relationships, so how your relationships doing. And then four is passions and purpose. So what kind of passion projects you working on? Do you feel like you have strong purpose? I think when those four things are running well in your life and they don't have this big debt on them, I think that's when you're, in my opinion, I think in your flow state, when you're living into a very healthy identity, where you are more trustworthy of yourself, you're more confident in what you're doing. So, with that being said, let's take an honest inventory of that. So, number one, we're going to talk about spirituality. So, with one second. All right, so for spirituality, with porn consumption, I want you to ask yourself, has your consumption of porn and your relationship with porn, has it created guilt, shame, a sense of disconnection from your spirituality, your purpose? Now, I've talked about it before. I'm Christian. So definitely, I think for me, porn consumption really created a distance from me and God because I knew, and I know that porn consumption itself is a sin, right? And it's adultery when you're with your spouse and you're literally spending your time, your sexual energy and attention on someone else. And even though it's through a screen, that's still, in my opinion, and in the Bible's opinion, adultery. Like we're cheating on our spouse. And I think when you think about spiritually, right, whatever, however your spiritual connection is, I think ultimately, right, is we're connecting with something higher than ourselves, right? Something that's more powerful, uh, our creator. And I think when we do this destructive habit that we know is not serving us, it's not serving others, it's not serving our God, it does create that weight, it does create that debt where we feel that shame, we feel that guilt. So I'd like to for you to take an inventory of that. Is do you feel like you're spiritually disconnected there when you're looking at porn? So that's spiritual health. Number two, physical health. So, is it draining your energy? Is it wrecking your sleep? Creating compulsive behaviors? That's a big one. I think for me, the physical, I mean, typically with porn, for me, it'd be like later at night. So I just remember, gosh, I just remember even as just a kid when I was really hooked on it, I would be up till like 4 in the morning. I'd be up till the sun came up sometimes because I would just be in this like my eyes are all open. I'd be like in this daze, this gosh, it felt like I was possessed. Like I couldn't get off of it. I couldn't look away, right? It's so addicting. So for me, when I think about that, it really wrecked my sleep, draining energy, right? I think you'd think that this would give you energy, and maybe sometimes it does. But I think when you're done, it's really takes an emotional toll. At least on me, I know when I'd be in these streaks of sobriety, and then I'd have a relapse, it really just felt like a punch to the gut. Just really drained me emotionally. And I think that affects us, when we're stressed, we don't sleep as well. And then we have these compulsive behaviors. We're just jumping to porn like, all the time. If we feel bored, if we feel tired, if we feel upset, it just fills all those emotional needs, but it's not actually solving them. So I think physically, think about that. How is it affecting your physical health? I think sleep's a huge thing. It's always been a big thing for me when I'm checking in with my little brother. We're doing our check-ins is how am I sleeping? Because really, when you think about it, sleep's incredibly important. I mean, sleep's how we recharge. That's how our body heals itself. It's like a superpower. And I think we don't talk about it probably enough as a culture. Just how much sleep we're probably not getting because we're just on our phones all the time. But think about that. Think about your physical health. Number three, relationally, right? How does porn affect relationships? Has it hurt your relationships? Has it built walls of secrecy? Has it made intimacy harder? Wow, this one really hits me deeply. Going through a divorce, I'd say past relationships as well. Porn was always undermining them. It was undermining trust, I think, most importantly. I think that's a really big one. I think inherent in relationships, you want to have trust. Your spouse, your girlfriend, whoever you're with, or if you're single, that future person, they want to be able to trust you. They want to be able to lean on you. They want to be able to know that you are loyal to them, that you love them, that you value them. And I think porn in its nature is something that undermines that. It's something that undercuts that value that we should have for our partner in life, our love, right? And I just know personally in my relationship now, it's been a night and day difference because I've been sober the whole time. And I was able to talk to her about the podcast and about uh my past relationships, my divorce, and how porn played a role. And she was incredibly receptive to that and just really appreciate that so much. Just being able to talk to someone about it and them still understand where you're coming from. But I think it came from a level of maturity that I've been able to build through a lot of reflection, therapy, groups, recovery, all that, to really understand, hey, these actions that I took really caused a lot of damage. And I can understand that. And I don't want to go down that route. So I'm not going to. I think a big part of it, though, is being honest and talking about it, talking through things, right? So as you think about relationally, the relationship that you're in now, or if you're thinking about that future relationship, think about this. I think porn really undercuts it. Die on the hill saying that. I really do. I do think that it just creates secrecy. Uh, you could be a unicorn person and maybe your partner loves it, you love it. I think that's pretty rare. And I don't know if that has like a long lasting uh success rate. Just thinking logically through that, because I think ultimately I think most people I want to be valued and want to be the desire of their partner's eye, versus just being another person, just another body. So that's just my point on that. But think about that. How has it hurt your relationships? How has it built the walls of secrecy? How has it made intimacy harder? I think definitely intimacies. I'm not gonna go super into detail on that one, but it definitely yeah, killed the bedroom. That's for sure. Because I think if someone doesn't trust you with what you're telling them, and it has to do with your sexuality, how are they going to feel comfortable with you in the bedroom? It's common sense, really. So yeah, I think porn does really affect intimacy. And then last one, we got passions and purpose. So how has porn stolen time from your dreams, your goals, and things that truly matter? Yeah, that's a big one. I think for me in my life, you know, I when I was a kid, I actually loved to make movies with this little VHS recorder. I loved playing basketball. I actually loved to write. I actually did a rip off of Lord of the Rings when I was really into Lord of the Rings as a kid. I still am totally into Lord of the Rings, but I made this book called Lord of the Sword, which I still have. It's very poorly written, but I did add some cool things in there. I have to read it sometime and the old manuscripts. But with that being said, I mean, that was like a passion of mine. I remember I got into writing when I was junior in high school through college. And I remember I had this really cool English teacher, Mrs. Stoffer. And I just remember she really unlocked a lot of passions within me about writing. And she was a really hard teacher, and I ended up getting a really good grade in her class. I was like top of the class. I think like top three in the class. And it gave me a lot of confidence about my writing and about expressing myself that way. And then I think that kind of went away when I just got back into, I think that porn mind in college. I was dating this girl at the time, was not a good relationship at all. It was a terrible relationship. And I think that really ate away at my passions. Like I stopped writing. I stopped really caring about that. And then the writing didn't really come back, and the idea of like making movies and videos that didn't come back really until the divorce. I think I was just rethinking about what I want to do in life and my passions and what is my purpose. And I think that intertwined uh, the old passions of writing, video making, telling stories. I think that started to intertwine with the pain and the brokenness that I had in my life in order to intertwine in order to help people and to help, like I was saying earlier, trigger that light bulb moment, because there is a canary in the coal mine, me telling you, hey, take it from me, this isn't worth it. So I think when you think about this, like, I think porn does take away from our passions, our dreams, there's a prison there. It's a mental prison that's just always hovering over us. And really think about in your life, what are some passions that you're really into? What are some things you can start doing again? Other things I love to do is I love to fish. I love to travel. Like I said, I work and travel out of my RV. So that's been really fun because I've been able to really interweave a lot of my passions together in this new lifestyle. So as you think about that, like what are passions that you have? I think if you're missing your passions, you don't really know, hey, what are my passions or really what's my purpose? Really think back when you were a kid. I mean, that really helped me out. I just started to think, hey, what did young Mac like to do? And he liked to write. He liked to get outside, liked to fish. Get back into those things. Because I think once you start sinking your teeth into those things, spending more time, that can really help. It can really help you, I think. But think about that because I think that that's a debt that weighs on our passions, right? If we have this weight on our passions when we feel like we can't get to our passions because we just feel so stuck in this, that's not a great way to live life. That's not good. That's not where we want to be. So I'd say if you're struggling to see it, ask yourself this. If porn has never been a problem for me, why is it something that I have kept secret? Why does it feel impossible to quit? Why do I always feel tired, stressed, anxious? Why is my intimacy with my wife or my girlfriend, why is it not where it should be? Ask yourself those questions if you do not think porn is a problem in your life and you're using it. Just ask yourself those questions. So I just say as you go through spiritually, physically, relationally, passions, and purpose, just on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the damage porn has done in each of these areas? So 1 would be minimal impact, 10 would be severe. Just be honest with yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody. Just be honest with yourself as you're taking an inventory. So, with that being said, next we're going to talk about just actionable changes and steps you can take after you listen to this. So I want you to do something this week. So after you rate these items, start picking, and you can just start with one category. You don't have to do all four of these active commitments, but just pick one category where you can start reducing that debt and write down a small, actionable step that you can take this week. So when we think about that, right, the four active commitments, spirituality, physicality, relation or physically, your physical health, relational health, and then passions. Just pick one. Just pick one. Where's your weak spot? If it's spiritually, just start small. Spend 5 to 10 minutes in prayer or meditation. Do some breathing exercises. That's a great way to really, I think, connect just with your inner spirit is just to take some time, no distractions, lay down somewhere, go outside, just take some deep breaths. A really good technique that I've learned is the 4-7-8 breathing method. So basically, you breathe in for 4 seconds, and I believe this is all through your nose. I could be wrong there. Maybe out through your mouth. But you breathe in for 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're breathing in, and then you hold it for 7. So you breathe in for 4, then you hold for 7. And then this is the fun part. Then you slowly release your breath for 8 seconds. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Do that 4 times and breathe out through your nose, I believe, and in through your nose. Try that out. I really do that a lot when I'm stressed or if I'm having a hard time sleeping. It just helps, I think, build that clarity, that renewal. Then also, I think it just gets you in the right mindset to say a prayer, meditation, something of that nature, I think can really be helpful. So just spend 10 minutes. Doesn't have to be every day either. Just pick a day or two in the week where you can do that to start really small. I'd say for physically, I'd say try to go to bed earlier to reset your energy. So if there's a time that you've been going to sleep, and this is again all about awareness. Let's just say you go to bed at midnight every night. Try to get in bed at least by 11. That way you're going to bed around 11:30. Just try to go to bed 15, 30 minutes earlier than you normally do. Just try it out. Try it out for a week. Relationally, I would say start talking to a trusted friend, a mentor. For me, it really helped getting into therapy. I had a Christian therapist that I got in touch with initially that really helped me out. Porn Addicts Anonymous is another way you can build relationships with others in an anonymous way. I know some people that do that that have a lot of success, but ultimately, I think is just having somebody that you trust. It could be your wife, it could be your girlfriend too, of just opening up and just saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with this, and I'm really looking to live differently, but it's a struggle." So a trusted friend, mentor, somebody I think just to talk about, because I think that's the hardest part sometimes is telling someone that, hey, I have a problem with this. And then passions, I'd say just set aside 15 minutes for that project, that hobby, whatever that is in your life. I know for me, I was talking about writing. I really just started to write on my Substack and really started to enjoy it. And it wasn't like these big novels, it was just these small little poems. And that helped really unlock what I have now. I've got a publication, I've got a podcast, and I've been writing more stuff. And it's been really neat because the passion itself has been really healing for me. And it's replaced a lot of the negative habits I used to have with the positive. It's really helped replace, hey, if I'm feeling down or if I'm feeling bored, hey, we'll just start writing, right? And then in the past, it used to be the porn. So think about that. Think about your passions. It's not about fixing everything overnight either. It's about taking that first step to freedom. So, with that said, just to close this out for y'all, really appreciate the time listening today. Just think about this. Think about this problem. Think about this as debt that's accruing in your life. And it's going to pile up. There's going to be interest. It's going to get harder over time if you don't address it. And remember, I would say I was addicted to this stuff for 20 years. And it all culminated and ended a 5-year marriage. The inability of my end to address this debt, that was like the debt that had to be paid, was just this terrible time in my life, the worst time in my life ever, just horrible, just a nightmare. And that was because I didn't address this debt. I didn't address it. I just put it off. Put it off until, hey, older Mac will take care of it. Well, older Mac is like, I took care of it. It was not fun. I'm on the other side of it. I'm feeling a lot better now, incredibly better. Like I'm in the right spot. But if I could have done it earlier in my life, I think that would have been quite nice. But that's okay. So that's just why I'm sharing that with you. No matter what age you are, where you're at with things, addressing it as soon as possible, taking the next best action is what it's all about. So I don't think porn typically is going to announce itself with flashing warning signs. I think it's really subtle. I think it tricks you to think that you're in control until the moment you're not, until the moment that you realize that the balance is too big to ignore. So, like I said, I think I let that debt build up for way too long in my life, and it nearly destroyed me. But you don't have to make the same mistake. I think this is your wake up call. If you haven't heard it yet, face the truth, count the costs, start taking action, take that inventory in your life, and start taking some meaningful actions. So, with that being said, I think next week what I'd like to focus on is focusing on some tools that you can start using to break free now that we've recognized that this is a problem in our life. So now we've recognized the problem. It's time to do something about it. So with that being said, everybody, I really appreciate you listening. Definitely check out my Substack if you haven't yet. Paid subscribers, I am doing a weekly 52 Weeks of Freedom series that I post every Friday. And then I just got done doing a monthly wrap-up video for my paid subscribers. So that's one way that you can support the mission, support the cause, join the community there. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. So one-on-one breaking free sessions where we're really just focused on personalizing it to you, building momentum in your life so that you can break free from porn yourself. So if you're interested in that, I do have a buy me a coffee page where you can purchase sessions. But initially, we can also do a 30-minute free consultation too, just to see if it's a good fit for you. So with that being said, my email is pornfreemillennialcoaching@gmail.com if you're interested in setting up a free consultation for 30 minutes with me. With that being said, though, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I would leave you with this. Now that you have this problem that you've recognized, it's game time. It's time to get your life back. And it's time to break free, stay free, and live free. Thank you, everybody, and keep fighting the good fight. Talk to you later.